1. At this time, I worked at a call center. For background, my average hold time was consistently a little low, so whenever somebody wanted to rant or talk or whatever, which maybe happened 3 or 4 times a day, I would let them as long as was reasonable to help balance out my numbers. This usually meant about 10 to 15 minutes. Average hold time was supposed to be about 3.5. So one day, several years ago, right before they instated instant messaging between team members and supervisors in the company I worked for at the time, an older lady called in asking to cancel her service because she was planning to spend the summer elsewhere. Okay, great. Normal. I worked in retention, so I gave her my brief spiel, knowing she'd say no, and then engaged her in conversation while I set her up to cancel, standard policy. At this point, we're about 2 minutes, and while I'm canceling her and chatting, she lets slip that she's calling one company per day because she has no other human contact. Wait, what?
Yes, you're my only human today.
No, so naturally, like any customer service rep with a low AHT and an ounce of human compassion, I got her talking. I don't even remember what she talked about. It didn't matter. We were both part of a silent conspiracy to extend the conversation as long as we could get away with. 15 minutes pass, and my supervisor comes over to make sure everything is okay. I give her a thumbs up and sign that I have it handled. 20 minutes pass, and she comes back. She looks a little worried this time, probably because I was never on calls that long. So I pull up a notepad and type out, "She said I'm her only human today. My AHT is low," and made a pouty face at my supervisor. She looked at the screen, looked at me, looked at the screen, looked at me, nodded, and walked away. 28 minutes, she came back, making the wrap it up gesture. I gave her a pouty face again, pointed to my AHT on the screen. She shook her head and made the gesture again. Okay. The next time the lady paused, I said, "You sound like a really sweet lady, and I would love to spend the rest of my shift chatting with you, but your service was cancelled a while ago, and I've got my supervisor standing over my shoulder telling me I have to wrap this up now." She chuckled, thanked me very eloquently for the chat, and ended the call. Final call time, 29 minutes, 37 seconds. I still remember the number. Didn't have to worry about my AHT for the rest of the day. And that is the story of how my longest call ever was also one of the most pleasant. 2. Let's set the stage. It's over 10 years ago, and I am a college student working abroad for the summer in London, United Kingdom. As it happens, the pretty young gal I was dating in college was studying abroad in Barcelona, Spain, so we plan a trip that happens to be around my birthday. I show up, we tour the city, and overall have a grand old time for a few days beforehand. In fact, I was able to meet Picasso's daughter while there during an exhibit she worked on. I was an artist at the time, and it was really special of her. She really was a gem. On my actual birthday, the day before my return flight, we trope through Park Güell with a bottle of wine and picnic for the day. High on love and a bit of wine. I ignore the nagging sick feeling coming on, but after only an hour or so, I am really not feeling well. The caring lass goes full medic mode, and fortunately, many helpful drugs are available without prescription in Spain. Whatever she gave me was enough to get me on my flight the next morning. But as things often do, I find during flight, things take a turn for the worst. I don't even remember getting through Heathrow Airport, but somehow I get home, but in dire straits. Fortunately, I have some flatmates who very quickly push me right out into another taxi to hospital. I showed up with a 105-degree, 41 Celsius if I recall correctly, fever. They pinprick the hell out of me for blood and provide fluids, severely dehydrated. I must have arrived midday, but they admit me overnight to monitor. They had no idea what I was suffering from and never found out. Thankfully, by nightfall, I was feeling much closer to life than death. Overnight in the UK hospital, I am on a lazy boy sofa chair with IV drip in a room of probably 8 to 10 patients of all age, sex, color, creed. A guy across from me had tried to kill himself with pills. I hear a doctor discussing this behind a privacy curtain. Next to me is a girl who does not speak very good English, but later gives me her number, maybe because of what happens next. Midnight. I can't sleep much overnight. The chair doesn't lie flat. The room is quiet, but somewhat tense. This is before I had a smartphone, so I didn't have anything to occupy myself with besides maybe Tetris. I took to quietly walking about. Enter gentleman. This giant, solid 6'4", skinny older gentleman gets up and approaches me near the doorway.
"Excuse me, sir, but where's the bathroom?"
"It's at this door and right over here to your left," I point.
"Many thanks, many thanks."
Time passes and I'm up again. There must have been a nurse in a corner or someone in and out occasionally, but inevitably the same gentleman comes back over to me where I'm standing. He asks for the bathroom, but says something about his wife also, and I realize he doesn't seem to see very well. This time I take his hand. They must have removed my IV drip at some point in the night and walk him to the bathroom. Before this happens a third time, someone else asks me something seemingly trivial about when they might get discharged, and I say I'll ask a nurse. I don't think anything of it. The third time, the gentleman is up for the bathroom. He says something like,
"What a kind young doctor you are. Many thanks, many thanks."
I politely inform him that I'm not a doctor, but he doesn't seem to notice. Something seems off, so I walk back and notify a nurse. She informs me that the gentleman is suffering from dementia. I panic. He's alone in the bathroom. But the nurse just nods that the gentleman will be fine. He is high-functioning, and it's an understandable mistake considering. I look quizzically at her, and she gestures at my body. I look down and realize I am wearing a light green V-neck t-shirt I got in Spain, and light blue pants. I am virtually a shoo-in for hospital staff. Oh. I hope the gentleman is okay wherever he is, and the guy across, and the girl. I hope they are all okay, wherever they are. 3. At the time, my dad was in the hospital for about 8 weeks for a brain infection. He's back home now, and doing very well. I don't live nearby, but I came to visit almost every day. The hospital, and where my dad lives, is in a town in Southern California, where it had been averaging 110 every day and rarely gets below 90, even during the wee hours of the morning. The way the hospital is set up, there is a roundabout in front of the main entrance with valet service, and there is a parking garage for patients and visitors just across the road from the main entrance. I'm terrible with distances, but I'd say it's maybe 30 meters from the garage to the hospital entrance. One day, I am visiting, and as I'm driving into the garage, I notice an older gentleman leaning against a pillar as though he's waiting for someone before crossing the rows of parked cars. I park, and then as I'm exiting the garage, I see the same old man outside, now leaning on a half wall with his hands on his knees. I ask him if he needs any help, and he tells me he's visiting his brother, but it's so hot. He doesn't think he can make it across the street to the entrance. I told him I'll be right back with a wheelchair and help. I ran inside the hospital to the main entrance and asked the security guards at the front desk where the visitors sign in if they have any volunteers and a wheelchair who can help this guy. They basically said no, and it will be a while before they can find someone. Obviously, I can't let this guy just sit in 110+ degree heat, so I look around the lobby and lo and behold, there's a wheelchair available. So I grab it and head back to the old man. I get him settled in the chair and we head into the hospital. We get our visitor's badges and they tell him where to go to see his brother. But it's literally on the other side of the hospital. This poor guy, who I found out is pushing 90, barely made it the 10 feet in the parking garage before needing a break. So I ask security, okay, I'm not heading that way, so can someone else push him there? Again, no, they can't leave the front desk, and there are no volunteers on staff right now. I ask, what about the hospital transport team? Nope, that's just for patients. I'm like, wow, okay, this is some BS. But I have a little time, so I'll just get him to his brother's room, and then the nurses will probably be way more capable of finding someone to help this man back to the parking garage. At this point, I haven't been outside the ICU, and don't know the hospital very well, so they give me a map and off we go. I kid you not, it took us 5 minutes to walk there. This poor dude would never have made it on his own. We ended up having a very lovely chat about PA. He was wearing a pirate's hat, and I mentioned I went to college in Lancaster. And when we got to his brother's room, a very nice nurse thanked me and took over. I felt super good about myself, not gonna lie. It always feels nice to do a good deed. About an hour later, I'm coming out of the garage, and now there's a different old man, this time with an oxygen tank, sitting in the same spot as the first old guy. Here we go again, I thought, same deal. This guy's much younger, 60s, but has heart and breathing issues and just can't make it across the way in this heat. This time I know where the extra wheelchairs are kept, so I go to the lobby, grab one, pick this dude back up, and we head inside to check in. He kept asking me questions about being a candy striper, and I told him I didn't work for the hospital, but I didn't mind helping him. Mind you, I'm wearing like workout shorts and a tank top, so I definitely don't look like a candy striper or someone that works in the hospital. He then complained about my wheelchair choice because it didn't have footrests. But it was the only one left, so, well. Turns out, he's at the wrong building, and needs to basically go around the block to another clinic on campus. Now, luckily, he was there to check in as a patient, so the transport team could help this time. Because this man was much more abrasive, also could have gone without the multiple "you're way prettier than any candy stripers I've seen" comments, but whatever. I told him I was going to leave him now and good luck, because this time I was in a rush to meet with my dad's docs. As I'm slowly backing away, he just kept blabbering about how young people have gone to shit because no one would help him until I came along. How I'm such a good candy striper, and the younger generation is doomed, blah blah blah. Anyway, I eventually just loudly interrupted and said something like, "Okay, sir, the transport team will be here shortly, and you can wait here with security. Good luck," and walked away. So far, I haven't come across anyone else who needs my wheelchair valet services, but I think it's safe to say it's time for that hospital to acquire some actual volunteers. 4. The management company that oversees my apartment building has always been total crap. Packages go missing from the mailroom, repairs take forever, staff are unfriendly. Not at all worth what we pay in fees. There was only one solid employee, and he almost made up for everyone else's incompetence. The janitor, Ruin. He kept everything sparkling clean and even pitched in when other people slacked off, helping with repairs, ID checking in the lobby, and more. Just because he took pride in the building. Then the corporate oversight of the management company changed, and the new boss was having all the properties inspected to do a quality spot check on the individual building managers. Our manager, the winner that he is, decided the best course of action would be to not come in the day of the oversight visit, so that it would have to be cancelled. The hope was the checker would just inspect what he could without the manager on site, which wasn't much, since he'd have already made the trip out there. My apartment has terrible cell reception and no AC, so I spent a ton of time downstairs in the lobby, which has both. I was able to overhear most of the planning for this visit as a result. Our janitor, Ruin, knew too, and he was spiffing everything up like new in excitement, fixing a few broken things the repairs guy ignored, and even bringing in fresh-cut flowers to the lobby out of his own pocket. Ruin dressed up in a collared shirt and khakis for the visit. He didn't know the manager was bailing. I just heard it hanging out in the lobby late one night. So when the corporate inspector arrived, Ruin was the only guy he saw. He was dressed up. So the inspector shook his hand and started rattling off the things he wanted to show him. Ruin knows this building better than anyone else on the staff, so you could tell he was a little overwhelmed at being seen as the point person. But he knew the answers to every one of the inspector's questions. Meanwhile, the few tenants and contractors who frequent the building passed and all knew Ruin, brought him concerns about their apartments. Those on the staff who knew we were being inspected even made a point to say, "Yeah, Ruin's a guy if you got a problem." So the end of the inspection must have come because they recongregated in the lobby. The inspector told Ruin he wanted to get his full name so he could make a note in his employee file of how well he's run the building so far, and that he'd meet with him later in the week to discuss fixes for the problems he found. Ruin, shocked, is like, "You want to meet with me again?" And the inspector is, "Sure, I'm looking forward to a long working relationship. I like to meet with each building once a month. Sorry, what was your name again? For the file?" Ruin told him, and the inspector goes, "Hold on. I thought someone called Eddie was the manager here." And Ruin explained, clearly embarrassed and scared he'd done something wrong, that he is not the manager. The manager didn't come in today. The inspector then went and spoke with a few people in the building on his own, while Ruin absolutely lost his shit in the lobby, thinking he was going to be fired or get the building censured or something. Eventually, the inspector comes back and sits Ruin down and tells him he might not be the manager in title, but he's manager in action, so if he wants it, he's got a new job. The man cried. Ruin's been working as a contractor through a janitorial service, not directly for the building, so no benefits, considered part-time, very little job security or support. And he'd just gone from that to a cushy office job in the building he loves in the blink of an eye. I was sitting on the couch, a few spaces down from them. The lobby has a sitting area with tables and chairs and couches. And I felt compelled to ask before anyone got too excited. "Hey, excuse me, can you do that, or could someone veto this?" Because I hated to think Ruin would be so excited only to have some sort of bureaucracy or old boys club shoot down his promised opportunity. The inspector turns to me and informs me he's the new COO of the management company, and final hiring decisions are at his sole discretion. Then he asked who I was, and I basically said, I was just leaving. And I fucked off out of there before my big mouth complicated things any further. This week Ruin started officially. We got flowers in the lobby every day now, and a dripping faucet I've been waiting 6 weeks to have fixed is scheduled for repair on Thursday. He didn't work there, but he does now. 5. Once upon a time, I was a very small child, and had very limited knowledge of the world around me. But that didn't stop me from figuring things out, my own way. A few houses up the street from where I grew up lived an elderly couple who were very much my surrogate grandparents. Their names were Jane and Emery. For reasons I never knew, everyone called Emery Chubb, so that's who I knew him as. Jane and Chubb were a large part and one of the best parts of my world. Something called Christmas was coming up, though I knew little about it. My dad got a tree and stood it up in the living room, though nobody seemed to think this was strange, and put shiny balls on it that I wasn't allowed to touch because they could break. A special little open-faced house was placed on top of our television, where all the little dolls in it were fixed to gaze lovingly at a special baby. The record player played special tunes that I knew had something to do with the tree and little house. But these things weren't customarily explained to very small children. One thing that everyone frequently did talk to me about was Santa Claus, an old man dressed in red who was going to give presents to me and my brothers. My experience with Christmas and Santa Claus was very limited at the time, and I'm not sure if I had retained any information from the previous year concerning this mysterious man. This Christmas thing finally did arrive, and with it came Santa Claus. He didn't come down the chimney, the way he did in legend. Instead, he knocked on the front door and came in when my dad answered. My brothers, who were older than me, were quick to point out that Santa was wearing Chubb's glasses. They were right. I knew those glasses. Plus, Jane came in the door right after him. I knew exactly who wore the red suit. It all made sense to me at that point. Chubb was Santa Claus. It even said so in the book that was read to me frequently at that time of year, the night before Christmas, right in the line that read he was chubby and plump. What more proof was needed? Chubby was really and truly Santa Claus. The rest of the world could go ahead and believe that he lived in the North Pole. Now I knew that he lived in secret, living a normal life, just a few houses down from me, where I could go enjoy him all year round. The rest of the world could believe in the fantasy they all wanted to, because I knew it would be wrong to spill Chub's secret, even when other kids would tell me that Santa Claus, yes, they always said his name wrong, wasn't real. I never told them that he was my neighbor. I would rather look foolish to them than to betray my friend. I kept his secret too, long after Jane and Chub had left our world. Even so, Santa Claus is real.
Ho, 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 everybody! Santa Claus here, and a Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you very much.
Hey, get away from that microphone.
Yeah. Oh, I was just saying hello to the people. It's the time of the season to be nice, you know.
No. You're the guy who gives shit to people, okay? If you want a microphone, give one to yourself as a present. Go on, get out of here. Bloody nervous, some people. I thought I blocked that chimney off. Anyway, hey, everybody. Hellfreezer here. Better be gone. There's no reindeer shit outside. Okay, anyway. Hey, everybody. Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Heartwarming Stories number 3. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. I know when you do send a story for this, or you let me use a story for this, it can sometimes take a bit before it gets done because it's an annual thing. I only do it on Christmas Day. I'd love to be able to do it on a more regular basis, but it's just a matter of finding more positive stories. So I wish there were more positive stories. Anyway, what day is it today? Oh wait, yes, it's Christmas Day. That's what the old fellow was saying, wasn't it? I should probably go start dinner soon. I don't usually bother with turkey. I'm having a nice bit of steak today. I have to pop round, see the family. Maybe I've already done it by the time you hear this. You may have, I don't know. I mean, Christmas Day, I might have a lie-in in Christmas Day. You know, it's the time of the year you can make excuses for all the things you want to do but don't usually do. It's like, oh, it's Christmas Day. That, however, is if you're one of the lucky people who aren't working. I know for a fact some of you are. I know specifically Venikins is. I hope work is going well in Swift Venikins and you give yourself a big old treat at the end of the day. And the same goes for everyone else who is working, who's making the world a better and safer place, a more productive place by giving up your Christmas Day for whatever reason. Because you had to or just because you wanted to. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And we appreciate what you contribute to the world. As for me, I will hopefully see you guys later tonight with a Christmas streamy stream. And if you're not into Christmas, then it's just a stream. I may, however, be wearing a purple Santa hat. I did post pictures on my Instagram recently as a way of debuting it. Also, the fact that I'll probably wear it once. Otherwise, if I hadn't done that, then it would get tossed in a drawer somewhere and forgotten about. Okay, and with that, thank you very...
Don't forget to wish them at Caesar... Oh, shit, no, don't throw that!
Right in the nuts, okay. I'll probably be on the naughty list next year for that, but whatever, I buy my own presents. So until next time, thank you very much for listening. And take very good care of yourself.